Over the course of this semester, we have learned a variety of tools and theories which apply to second language learners and second language acquisition. As a teacher, it is important to understand the process and theories that support second language learners and be able to use methods of instruction when teaching them in the classroom. In this pecha kucha, you will find just that. To begin with, second language acquisition is the study of individuals and groups who are learning a second language in addition to their first L1 language as a child. Some of you may ask, what is a first language? A first language is seen as a primary language. It is a language which a person has learned from birth or within a critical period of time that makes a person speak and is the basis of a person's identity. A second language is typically an official or dominant language needed for education, employment, or other basic purposes. People who have a second language are usually immigrants or minority people. There are three types of basic understanding for a second language: a foreign language used in education or travel, a library language that is used for a tool to further learning, or an auxiliary language that is a language learners need to use to function in political and social settings. These are foundational to understanding the basics of second language learning and teaching. This involves a wide range of learning language settings and learner characteristics and circumstances. L1 and L2 languages are divided into three basic stages. The first stage is called the initial state, the second stage is called the intermediate state, and the third phase is the final state, which is the outcome of L1 and L2. Following this is the breakdown of different phases in more depth. Initial state is the first state of learning a language. Learners are said to have the innate capacity to learn languages, and there is certain controversy about whether a genetic predisposition plays a factor in learning a second language. In this state, students have a knowledge of L1 and interaction skills to build their knowledge of L2. The knowledge of L1 helps build a transfer from L1 to L2. Finally, students in this stage have real knowledge of their initial state for cognitive learning and development. The intermediate state is where learners have influence from vocab, pronunciation, grammar, and all other structures of the language that are cross-linguistic. There is necessary conditions for students to have progress to this state from feedback, from capacity of aptitude, and motivation. When a learner gets to the final state, it is the outcome of L1 and L2 language. It is considered native linguistic competence. There are basic phonological and grammatical systems present in the final state of learning. Learners also have interaction skills that are adequate for fulfilling communication functions. Another part of SLA and understanding the process is to see the frameworks of SLA. Frameworks for a second language acquisition are very detailed and can be broken down into the areas of linguistics, psychological, and social theories. Linguistic learners are molded internally and externally since the 1960s. Psychological theory is the theory that focuses on the learning process and the influence of cognitive ability. Social process is the context which surrounds a person that helps them learn best. Thoughts and language go hand in hand. The nature of language is systematic, meaning they have occurring principles that continually appear in patterns of reading and writing. Language is broken down into 6 basic things. They include structuralism, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and lexicon. These 6 things all build as a foundation of each other, and they all work together. Structuralism emphasizes the importance of different levels of production in speech. Phonology is the sound system, which is the student's ability or learner's ability to learn in sounds of a language. Morphology is the ability to sound out and see how words are put together individually and in sentence structure. Syntax is the relationship of words within the sentence, such as ordering and agreement, and the grammatical relationship of words. Semantics focuses on the meaning of words, and lexicon focuses on vocab development. There is a reason to believe that there is a difference of learners and why some learners are more successful than others based on the fact of age. One of the debatable things is whether students have a critical period, and learning a language after a certain age causes learners to have a foreign accent and less plasticity in their brains. Learners that are older may have a greater learning capacity, which could help with vocab development and grammatical rules. Another factor that can make a difference between learner is the sex of an individual. There is reason to believe that women are more attentive to details than men, therefore making their cognitive style and learning strategies more attentive to learning a second language. But research still shows that this is mixed. A third thing that can be factored into the reason that some learners are more successful than others is based upon learners' motivation. The time and effort in which a person puts into a language will show how much they get out, as well as the different developmental stage of life in which a person is in. Whether a person is extrinsically or intrinsically motivated makes a big difference. A fourth thing, and perhaps one of the biggest reasons there is a difference of learners, is due to personality. Researchers in the past have assessed the personality traits of second language learners and have concluded that relationships between one another, anxiety levels, and being an extrovert or introvert contributes to the ability to learn a second language. There are also specific strategies which contribute to learning a second language. The main types of learning strategies are metacognitive strategies, which attempt to regulate language learning by planning or monitoring, cognitive by analyzing using direct analysis and relating it from one language to another, and social or affective, which involves interacting with others and having opportunities to speak. Two outcomes which are related to SLA and help teachers understand learning a language are additive bilingualism and subtractive bilingualism. Additive bilingualism is when learning a second language does not interfere with learning the first language. Both L1 and L2 are developed. Subtractive bilingualism is when learning a second language interferes with learning the first language. Oftentimes, in subtractive bilingualism, the second language replaces the first language and can even have effects on their ethnic identity. Another key that is foundational in SLA is negation or questioning. Negation is an acquisition of negative sentences by language learners, which follows steps and predictable patterns of acquisition regardless of first languages. This is usually broken down into 4 simple steps. A second thing that contributes to SLA is the ability for second language learners to question and to develop questions. There are 6 stages of development which help describe this attribute of learning a second language. One more thing that contributes to SLA is the stages of learning a language. Studies show that developing a second language is done through several speech acts. Stage 1 is minimum language. Stage 2 is memorized routines and frequent use of imperatives. Stage 3 is less of those routines and formulas. Stage 4 involves complex language and mitigation, and Stage 5 is the refinement of requests. People have also argued whether second language interaction is essential to learning a second language. Through interaction, it is said that learner begins to comprehend and really put pieces to see the larger picture. Learners need the opportunity to interact with other speakers and work together to reach mutual comprehension through making meaning. One more contributing factor in learning a second language is the noticing hypothesis. Through noticing hypothesis, it is said that nothing is learned unless it has been first noticed. Richard Smith hypothesized that second language learners could not begin to acquire a language feature until they became aware of its input. This has been an ongoing controversy about. And finally, one of the last components of learning a language is the component of practicing. Practicing is a behavioral approach and is effective if one practices the behavior that they wish to learn. Practicing helps cover procedural knowledge and declarative knowledge. Practice makes progress and not perfect. It should be interactive and meaningful to learners. It is my hope that by watching this, you have learned about the frameworks of second language acquisition and have a better understanding of the theories and things that contribute in learning a second language, as well as how to teach effectively the language. Thank you so much for watching.